Until Saturday, national championship game check-in. The game is later tonight. I am David Ubben, here with Chris Vannini and Cam Teague, who covers the Ohio State University for The Athletic. It's a big day today. Chris, what are we seeing? What for the week? What do we got?
We're seeing a lot of Ohio State fans, first of all. They are flooding everything from Fan Fest to the hotels to everything. Cam, it's been a long playoff run. You've been with this team all season. After that Michigan loss, did you think this was a real possibility that this team could still get here?
Yeah, I think my thought was this is still the most talented team in the country that has a Michigan problem. I thought if they don't have to play Michigan, they can win that championship. Now, the question for me, biggest question for me was just whether they would be able to get back up from, like, that was the most devastating of the 4 Michigan losses. So, like, how do you get back up in time to play a Tennessee team that could challenge them in some ways? Obviously, they did, and then they got here. So my thought was just if they were just mentally there, I think they could make this run. You just never knew if they were going to get up from that.
Did you feel like they were mentally there? Did you feel like they turned a corner seeing Tennessee, or you're like, well, Tennessee's also got some weaknesses?
Yeah,
what did you see?
I think Tennessee has some weaknesses, but I thought leading up to that Tennessee game, the way they talked, the way Ryan Day talked, it felt a lot like 2022 Georgia. Mm-hmm. Now, they lost that game, but that was probably the best playoff game under Ryan Day until this year. So I honestly was in the press box thinking they were going to blow out Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I didn't get confirmation about whether they'd make this run into Oregon. Now, it was less about them blowing out Oregon and more like, okay, mentally they're there. Mm-hmm. Like, you can blow out Tennessee, and then maybe you come into Oregon and you're a little cocky and you kind of get ahead of yourself. But the way they just dominated Oregon like that, I was like, all right, this team's there. Ryan Day's there mentally, physically. They're the most talented teams out there. I thought then at that point I was like, this runs in them.
So they come into this game, big favorites, opened at like 8.5. I think it's still right around there. What is Ohio? If there's one thing Ohio State needs to do to win this game, what is it?
Just be themselves, honestly, on offense especially. Like, you can't get caught into this trap of, like, Notre Dame's going to try to make you try to be more physical than you. You have to know Notre Dame's banged up on the offensive line. Their linebackers are good, but just okay. Their defensive line is okay. They're really good in the secondary, but they're going to play man coverage. You love playing against man coverage. You have to win and trust your guys to win on the outside. They're not going to win every time. Leonard Moore's going to have a good day. Christian Gray's going to have a good day. But you have Jeremiah Smith. You got Emeka Buka. You got Carnell Tate. You got 2 NFL running backs. You have to trust your playmakers and put the ball in their hands. And for Will Howard, it just becomes don't turn the ball over. The only way, in my eyes, that Notre Dame stays in this game is if Will Howard turns the ball over and Notre Dame consistently gets short fields.
And Notre Dame is leading the country in takeaways. They're averaging more than 2 per game. They lead the country in non-offensive points, including a kick return against Georgia and a bunch of pick sixes. What is the path for Notre Dame to win?
I think it's sustained drives on offense. You don't have to score every time, but you have to give your defensive time to rest. And then on defense, it is try to force Ohio State into, like, this physical, ugly game, right? You want Will Howard to be confused. You want to come out in man coverage, but then you also kind of want to mix in some zone coverage because he can throw interceptions when he's baited and things like that. So if you can turn the ball over, win the game, win the special teams battle, and make this a tight game into midway through the third, early in the fourth, then you have a chance there. But I think a lot has to go right. But we've seen it with this Ohio State team. Nebraska was one. I know we always talk about Michigan, but Nebraska was a game that they probably should have lost, and if they lost, they wouldn't be here. So there's a blueprint for them. It's just a matter of does Ohio State's talent overwhelm that?
You mentioned Nebraska. People talk, obviously, the Michigan game was monumental. But the first 20 minutes against Tennessee, the first half against Oregon, I don't feel like we saw that Ohio State team that much this year. Why do you think, first of all, we didn't see that team, and why do you think that team decided to show up in the playoff when the lights were brightest and we're seeing them look like the team that we thought they might be in August?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I think they feel like they have a lot to prove after that Michigan loss. I think they understood or heard everyone saying that their season was over. I think also the benefit is Ryan Day has gone back into the game plan room a little more. I think he spent a lot of time with the defense, but a lot of time doing some other things. I think what you're seeing with the offense is a perfect mix of Chip Kelly's running mind with Ryan Day's spread offense in passing game. So that mixed with the aggressiveness of this is the playoff, we win, it's win or go home, I think that's what's showing. And like you said, you saw it in Tennessee, you saw it in Oregon. I think you probably would have seen it more against Texas if they didn't get so many penalties to kind of end their drives. But, yeah, I think it's a perfect storm of everything right now.
Cool. Quick prediction. Does Ohio State draw a holding penalty in this game? They have not drawn a holding penalty since Marshall. It's like 720-something plays that Ohio State cannot draw a holding penalty. Do you think it finally happens?
I'm going to say no. I think the streak's going to continue, and I think Jack Sawyer and JT are leaving without one. Yeah.
All right. Last thing here. All three of us. Score prediction. Who you got? Ubben, you go first.
27-13 Ohio State. Unless it's 9-6-ish at half, then I'm taking
What do you mean? No, you
Yeah,
have
you
to
gotta
pick
pick
one.
Notre
one.
Dame
You
2017.
can't take both.
did.
You're always
Stop me.
moving the goalposts
Call the
within your own
cops. They're
pick.
not here. I'm allowed to do anything. There's no rules
So
against this.
27-13 is Ubben's pick. Cam, what about you?
I'm going 28-10.
I'm
28-10
going
Ohio State.
24-14. I think it's ugly. I think it's close. But Ohio State makes just enough plays to win, just like that Texas game that you and I saw in the Cotton Bowl. So that'll do it here until Saturday. We'll be live immediately after the game on the YouTube channel. Podcast coming out after that. Subscribe to the feed, YouTube, podcast, wherever you get them. Read this guy, Cam Teague's work on theathletic.com. We're going to have a ton of stuff. We got a ton of people here for The Athletic. So thanks, everybody, for watching.